Hi there. Hi there. I wanted to talk to you today about boundaries. Now, there are different kinds of boundaries. The first thing I want to show you as an example is my pair of ammonites. See these? Big earrings. Pretty cool, huh? When I first saw these, the first thing I wanted to do was go, "Help me, Obi-Wan, help me." They're so funny. Look at they're like little cinnamon twists. Anyway, I have a metaphysical principle to talk about today regarding boundaries. So I'm just going to take one of these and use it as an example. So when you think of the soul and its journey, you can see it as one whole entity, the whole entity, an aspect of your higher spirit consciousness here visiting Earth is experiencing what it is to be human, what it is to explore from this biological perspective. So we journey, and in consciousness, we are journeying perhaps from an origination point. Origination point could be from another world or your beginnings here on Earth. And look at this spiral. First of all, this is really pretty. This reminds me of what's called the golden mean, which basically is a mathematical calculation which generally looks to be dividing things into thirds. Okay, but anyway, this isn't quite that pattern, but it reminds me of it. But let's say you as human consciousness, you come into the human playing field or the physical universe playing field, and you start here. Now, you journey, and as you journey, if for you journeying means life after life, let's let this be a representation of questions and answers, what it is to be human. When you pass away, maybe all your questions weren't answered. So you come back and you do it again and again and again. And the idea is to accumulate earth wisdom, earth knowledge. What is this human species about? What is it like to be human? What is it like to transition through these trials? What is it like? And if you continue to have questions, you will continue to have these earth experiences. So every now and then we come to this. This is like, I look at this as a very dark era in perhaps one's own consciousness. Perhaps they have met within their own soul the primitive programming that comes with the animal brain, the animal aspect of ourself, of the human self. So transitioning, you have a choice. Do you tread into those dark barriers, past the veil, into the unconscious to find out what's buried there? Or do you go back? A lot of people hit this mark, and they're scared to know what's inside. If you take the lid off of your own consciousness, what kind of programming is going on under the surface? There's a lot to overcome. There's a lot of genetic programming. There's a lot of psychological entrapments. So if you are a brave soul and you dare past that barrier, you're going to go on to the next and the next. And every level of education, whether it's in this life or many lives, depending on your own personal journey, ideally goes upward and outward, becoming bigger and fuller. But look within each range. Do you see these little barriers? I want to talk about barriers, okay? Moving outward, transitioning, transmuting your own energy into something once you hit that. And I would say, and I use this term a lot, every barrier here is a paradigm. Going through your paradigm, your reality paradigm, that is your transition through that barrier. Now, a paradigm is a perception of reality based on your own personal experience, calculations, or analytical thinking or emotional reactions, and then you say, aha, so that's what that's about. Every experience goes into your mind, into your memory, and then from that experience you draw conclusions about your perception of reality. So everybody's in a different reality bubble. We all might share the same time space. You know, you could be sitting next to someone in a car, or, you know, at the mall somewhere, standing in line for your coffee, and this person next to you has a completely different reality, completely different set of boundaries, completely different perception. He has a different paradigm than you, okay? Because his journey is different. So you should remember that and respect everybody's personal journey. It's very different from your own. Anyway, I want to talk about these boundaries. Sometimes the higher soul, or, you know, an inner consciousness on a subconscious level, will press up against stresses. And it will do this over and over and over until you learn the lesson. Okay? Now, I know I've heard of people who have had very, very rough relationships. Who hasn't, right? At some point in some of our life. Relationships will show you one thing. They teach you a lot about what you don't want, and they teach you a lot about yourself. Okay? And sometimes, and if it's good, they teach you a whole lot about love and companionship and friendship and patience and understanding and compassion. When you see something from someone else's perspective, and you see what they've gone through, makes you feel very fortunate that you haven't gone through those things, and that you can be a supportive friend. Or maybe, you know, you identify with that person. Or maybe, you know, there's just something there that you click with and your lives join until they don't. So anyway, let's talk about these boundaries. Boundaries in the unconscious is usually a fear barrier. A boundary in the unconscious. And then we have the programming from the earth life experience through culture and civilization that says, don't go there. You don't want to go there. Stay away from there. That's where all the bad stuff is. And a true higher soul journey says, I have to go there. I want to dig out and uncover what's there. I want to know the truth. So sometimes in facing our fears, we might find emotions in these dark caverns we don't want to hone up to. It could be rage, it could be fear, it could be anger, it could be anything. Usually it's on a very primitive level, and that's why we don't want to go there. We're disgusted to see these aspects of consciousness in our own soul. But going through this process of cleansing, you know, discovering what's in there, this is especially hard if you have had very tough experiences with family members. You know, the conscious mind doesn't want to go there and admit certain harsh emotions. Wants everything to be okay, trying to make everything okay. Or maybe there's just something there that's very primitive from just the animal brain. This fear, unreasonable, irrational fear. And that's what's in the animal part of our brain. So the soul will journey through this, going to the higher levels through these barriers. And I'll talk about how to handle fears and how to get rid of them and get your breakthrough. Because it's very simple. You just walk it. Anyway, it's not that simple. We'll talk about it later. So you're on your journey. I want to talk about the good barriers. Now, good barriers are barriers that are about self-respect. You have to have boundaries of self-respect. Don't let people cross over that. You're not a doormat. And you don't have to fix everything for everybody. You don't have to try to make everything always okay. Because you're trying to fix other people's paradigms. You're trying to move into their territory of their mess, maybe, you know, and you don't want that spilling on you. There are family members people have that there's nothing you can do because they're in their own entrapment. So boundaries, you set these boundaries for yourself, your own self-respect. How far can a person go into your own paradigm, you know? What is safe for you? What's beneficial? Do you want yourself to be walked on? No. Do you want to be taken for granted? No. So set your boundaries for yourself. Boundaries. Go to sleep on time. There's a boundary at what point you should rest and love yourself. Give that body, that vehicle, some time. Set that boundary. I've got to go to bed on time. I need to bless my vehicle. It's carrying me around to do all this work and all this stuff, and I've got to rest. And then love that vehicle. Set a boundary of how much you're going to constantly give out in the day. So you have boundaries you can set with relationships to be healthy. And you have boundaries you can set for your own body and how far you go and what are you going to do to help your body. There's a boundary there, and it's a healthy boundary, and sometimes that's good. Okay? So what I'm referring to here, though, we move from one paradigm to the next paradigm to the next paradigm. Can all happen in a single life, depending on your own personal growth, desire for higher understanding. But at some point, you might get to a very, very difficult time where it seems murky, unclear, and you got to get through these boundaries. And usually for people who are on their last journey as a human, they want their higher consciousness will go through all of this in one lifetime. Okay? And it's to peel off the dross and all the false programming and all the fears, having gone through those fear barriers now for the last time. And when a soul does that, they're absolutely free. So here's the freedom. And notice this last barrier of the veil. You see how thick, how dark and thick and muddy that looks? That's sometimes what happens just before freedom. Before the consciousness breaks free of all concepts that have bound the soul to the earth plane, to the physical universe earth plane. So I wanted to use this as an example. And I don't know where you are on your journey, but you could be here. You could be here. And you could have done all of this in one lifetime. Or maybe you have many lifetimes in which you are journeying, finding out where the negative boundaries are and blowing through those, and finding out about how to have self-respect and good boundaries to hold yourself together for your next step in evolution. So I wanted to share that with you. And I love these things. You pick up the other half, you see? And sometimes when you go through life, you might find another person, a soul sister, a soul brother, a spouse, husband and wife, or whatever the case may be in your journey. And you guys fit together. Look at that. Now this thing was actually a lot thicker. It was like that, but they had to clean out the middle, so it's thinner. Normally it's like that. Looks thinner. Anyway, I wish you well on your journey. I wish you well in breaking barriers and establishing good boundaries for yourself. And I hope you have a good day. I love you. You all be good and take care and bless your day. Bye-bye.